This is FanSpeak, the weekly live show where the fans of comics and its community are our guests. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are very happy to have you here. And of course, first things first, we will come out and apologize for yesterday. Sorry about that. It seems that YouTube decided to ban Asia from YouTube there for a while. And unfortunately, it does seem that YouTube is having some kind of rolling blackouts, as it were. For instance, today, Europe seems to be having huge outages. But over here in Japan, it looks pretty good for right now, anyway. But nevertheless, happy to have you guys here, and we do apologize for that. And of course, what that means is that we're not doing a TFT today. We're going to be doing this recast of the FanSpeak, but we're going to have a lot of fun. It's a really cool book. We're going to be looking at it here from George, as well as taking a look at some interesting news, as we always do on FanSpeak. I do see we have a controversy, George. There's a controversy going on. We had ourselves a drawn recorder the other day, and because of weather outages over here in Japan, I had to call it sooner than I usually did. And when I did call it, the winner was Jiminy Cricket. But then we went on to Manny's channel, and we were going, and the poll just keeps running, right? And then we had a different winner, who is Rick Piper from Canada. Now, I went and I basically asked Pixel to make a decision, and he made his decision. But I think I had some influence in it because, I can't stand Canadians. I really don't like them. I'm going to go American all the time. I'm very biased. You know that, George?
I'll refrain from answering that.
All right, fine. Well, I'm not afraid of it. You take that, John Dillard. No, but we do have a standing policy. When it's called, right? And that's just the way it goes. But I get the humor and the outrage. So when we have another drawn recorder, if Rick Piper is ever allowed on again, you guys can go ahead and do your shenanigans as you always do, people. America always wins. Damn right, Jiminy. That's right. Remember that. Now, you are an American, right, George?
Yeah. Born and
Okay.
raised in New Jersey.
Good. Well, I do apologize. But the American part is good enough, though. Good enough for me. Yay, America.
Yeah.
New Jersey, although, is a bit of a hellhole, but it's
New
unfortunate.
Jersey's interesting. My area is very nice, but I
Is it?
understand what you mean.
I've driven
Yeah.
through New Jersey many times, and it smells like paper factories. It's horrible.
There is a specific area of New Jersey that I think you're thinking of. It's near one of the airports. That's just a giant. It looks like you're in this weird new planet of smoke and pillars and factories. It's weird. But New Jersey itself is actually quite nice. The people can be crazy, though. I think that's where we get the reputation.
I think, yeah. Well, you get the Jersey Shore type of Guidos down there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're very tan people. They come out in the summertime. You don't know where they are for the rest of the year. And they have lots of tattoos.
I guess they have tattoos now. When I was younger, there was no tattoos at all on the Guido. The Guido was untattooed, but things have changed, I guess.
Gold chains.
Well, I grew up in Rhode Island, so I know all about the Guidos, and
they do. Their habitat is the beach. Yeah,
it is the beach, and they are absolutely ridiculous human beings. And yeah, I said it. And a Cat wants to know, what'd you say about Canadian? I said, I love you, Cat. How's that? And John Dillard says, oh, you mean if we ever watch again? Well, that's fine with me, John. That's fine with me. All right. Just keep in mind, we made you, brother. It's on us. I love little chaotic controversies. It's fun. But anyway, do keep in mind we got all our links down below. Definitely check out the FanSpeak page that is growing, and it's got a lot of cool content. And we'd love for you guys to go get involved with that and put your own stuff on. Kat is continuing here, and she says, Chester, I could have possibly been on your side until that Canadian comment. Well, I do apologize, dear. I hope you shall forgive me someday. She's Canadian as well. We're just infested with them, kind of like ticks. I don't know what to say about it, but it is what it is.
I like Canadians. I especially like when they buy my books.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I'm just joking. Of course, I have a lot of family and friends in Canada. Actually, dude, really, the only problem with Canada is is Quebec. I mean, really, and
Mm.
well, it seems like Edmonton and has become a bit of an issue too. But Toronto, well, there's a lot of problems with Canada, and it's basically Justin Trudeau's fault. But no, Quebec, the damn French, man. Oh God, they're such a pain
Mm.
in the ass. We call them Canucks where I come from. Does that word travel far enough south to New Jersey for you to know what that means?
Have I heard that in Monty Python by any chance?
I don't know, but you might well have. But I know I grew up with it from my grandma, and my grandma says you never trust a Canuck. So I believe in my grandma, and I go to listen
I
to
have to look that up.
her. That's right, star
Mhm.
storyteller. Canadians don't even have free speech. You're right. You know, the Tick's a great comic. You're right, Jimmy. It's funny. You get I'm being chastised by some and trying to be supported by others. It's funny, even though I'm being absolutely sarcastic. It's Trudeau is a twit, but you know what? I forgive. I can't. I'm not going to forgive him. But Trudeau is a twit. But we have our own twits over in America as well. We have this one lady. Her name is something Cortez. Boy,
Mm.
talk about ultra twit. I mean, that's super level twit. But we're not here to talk politics or twits for that matter. We're here to talk comic books themselves and Indiegogo, which looks absolutely killer. And before I come over and start showing that and talking to George here directly, of course, we have two George on here. I understand we have George A, who is our guest, and George G, who is not our guest. And he just keeps coming back, and we can't get rid of him. I don't know what to do
Yeah,
about it.
I heard talk about Canada, and I'm here to represent
Yeah, he's another
you.
Canadian George, by the way, right there. Just
My
infested.
family immigrated to America through Canada, so I can't say anything bad
Oh, you
about that.
really? Well, the funny thing,
That's right.
my mom's side, I am
Mhm.
actually, no joke, I am actually a Mayflower.
How
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. I don't know if anyone would ever want to take claim to that these days, but yep, no, I'm a straight, direct descendant of Mayflower on my mom's side. My dad's side came about, 20, 30 years after the founding of Plymouth, I'd say. but
Hmm.
um, but my mom's actually, my grandmother's an Allen, so.
It's pretty
Interesting.
cool.
I don't know if it's cool or not. It just means my
Well,
family's
I
been in
like
America
history.
forever. You know,
Hmm.
the stunning, shocking thing is, though, most average Americans, no matter what color they are, have a little bit of Indian in them, right? I mean, just a little bit, like Pocahontas there, right? What is she, 1,000 something? You know, most people actually have a little bit more than that. But both my families have gone and done genealogies, and they've been in the country nearly 400 years, right? And neither one of them have any Indian at all. I literally have zero, and I don't know how that happened, but
Hmm.
it is what it is. I guess my family's biased too, huh? No Indians in the bedroom, I suppose. Oh well.
Well,
I feel
you
like
should
we've.
take full responsibility for their
Oh, I
decisions.
will. I shall. I shall take the sins of the father right upon myself, and I wonder. That could have been a little fun, a little bit of difference, a little bit strange is always fun, right? I mean, come on.
Well, you should basically pay me, is what I'm saying.
Oh, right, right. No, I definitely will. Yeah, yeah, sure. That's got to happen. I'm over here in Japan, by the way, so yeah, I think I
Trying
could
to
just
run away, are
ignore
you?
mail. Right. But anyway, I did want to make what I'm trying to get to. Where we're in a very sarcastic mode today. This is fun. But I want to talk a little bit about the the Black Ariel controversy. And
Sure.
it's the controversy that it is because obviously all of us are like, again, Disney, really Disney. Aladdin had to be ultra perfectly racially set, and you paid for it because the girls seemed to do a good job, but the boy was horrible. But yet now, when you're dealing with a European story, a Danish story, I guess, no, or yeah, Danish story. Hans Christian Andersen is from Denmark, right? Pretty sure.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I think so. But now that we have now that with that, but no, it's okay. We got to make sure it's just something else.
Mhm.
So a lot of us are like, "Oh, okay, great Disney, thanks a lot." But of course, what's happening online is a lot of these SJW types, these progressive politics types, are saying there's a major controversy. These what do they call us again? Nazis, alt rights. They use a lot of these kind of words that don't apply like to even 1% of the people they're talking about. But they're saying that there's a huge thing where yelling, screaming, "How dare you! That's not what you have a black person as a black," right? And of course, no one's actually doing that, but they're pushing that narrative so they can. They were all ready. They're prepared because they knew it was coming. Yeah. But I guess
Because you know how much we love the Little Mermaid.
yeah. Well, hey, there's a certain demographic that absolutely loves the Little Mermaid, though.
I grew up with it, yeah,
Sure,
but
and they're going to get upset about it, I guarantee you. But my question is for the panel here. We had the other George, and then he left. But my question is, what do you think about this? Do you care, or is it just more stupid Disney crap?
you can go ahead, bud.
Okay. Well, I was gonna let you go ahead, but what I see, I don't really care. It's a non-issue for me. The only outrage I see is for the gingers that they're losing representation. So
That's right. I'd say we stand up for the gingers. I agree. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we can get it. We can get behind that. I'd say, like we just had, we have the new MJ with the Spider-Man. Of course, we know that's not Spider-Man. That's Miles Morales. But whatever. But we got the new MJ, and it's one thing that she's not a redhead. I mean, that's really sad and disappointing. But another thing for me is. The other 2 points I have, not only is she not a redhead, she's also mean and nasty, which is the exact opposite of Mary Jane. And three, she's really not attractive, which is once again the opposite of Mary Jane. Mary Jane's one of the few characters in Marvel who is actually supposed to be beautiful. Now I understand artists always try to buck someone beautiful, but they're not necessarily written that way. Right? There's only a few characters who are really supposed to be actually beautiful. Mary Jane is one. Oh, what's another Marvel character that's intended to be beautiful? Who do you guys think?
that would be Rogue.
Is she? I never got that. I never got anything from
Yeah.
Rogue as her being beautiful. I've getting it off
Come on,
she's sassy and sexy, but I've never seen her as supposedly beautiful.
Come on,
Isn't Black Widow supposed to be?
yeah.
Go ahead, George.
Black Widow. I don't really read a lot of Marvel stuff actually, but
Yeah, no. Once again, not really. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Phoenix
I'm a
Wright.
Marvel guy. And that's why I'm not
Phoenix.
talking on the DC side.
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey a little bit. Yeah, I agree with that. Kitty Pryde is supposed to be really cute girl next door. There's a couple of them who are written intended to be attractive, but in general, most of them aren't. Their attractiveness isn't really brought up. You know what I mean? Now, of course, the artists are going to draw them the way the artist will. But I'm saying ones that are specifically in canon supposed to be attractive. There's not a lot of them actually. What about DC side? Who are the ones that are supposed to be pretty?
That would be almost everyone.
I don't know. I don't know about that though. Like I know Superman.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of Superman, and Lois Lane has never been portrayed as being particularly beautiful. She's smart, clever, brave. All these. She has many good adjectives that go with her, but beautiful has never been one of them.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah.
it is what it is.
Poison Ivy, does she count?
I think now Poison Ivy is supposed to be sexy, but she's like otherworldly, creepy, sexy, right? But anyway, we don't need to go too deep into that conversation. Wonder Woman, Jiminy says, is that true? I don't know. I've never read a Wonder Woman come. Well, I've read a couple, but maybe that's true. Maybe she's supposed Power Girl. They keep saying, okay, there you go. Catwoman. Catwoman is certainly sexy. That's for sure. Jade. I don't even know this character.
I think of Mara Jade from the Star Wars canon, but she got also nuked with the Disney by the Disney. What did they do?
Made it into Legends.
Yeah, like she was supposedly like this well-written character that married Luke eventually. She was all sassy and stuff, and then they just decided to throw her out with the bathwater. And I mean, it was funny because I heard by the time I knew about Mara Jade, I'm like, what's with all these redheads? I'm sick of it. And now I'm realizing, no, there's like none of them anymore.
Oh yeah, they definitely the redheads are under siege. Well, here you go. That's a very good point, Jiminy. Thank you. Wonder Woman has the beauty of Aphrodite. That's right. So there you go.
And
Let's
the
see.
wolf was the
Ray
line
Thulu
of
says,
Script.
"Sorry, but if your character was played by Margot Kidder, beautiful is not the adjective for you. No, it's not. And like I said, I've read a lot of Superman comics, and I've never seen her portrayed as, beautiful. She has many other qualities that Superman likes about her, but it's not really ever been put forward. And I think Margot Kidder played Lois Lane perfectly, actually. Let's see here. Jade was an actress and daughter of Alan Scott, who is now gay. Alan Scott is gay now. Okay. Well, who's Alan Scott?
I don't know, but I'm sure he's stunning and brave.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. Thanks there, Hillel. But it is an interesting conversation how they go and take these comic book characters and try to twist them into one thing or another. It's like, just have fun. How about that? I like yesterday, my wife forced me to watch that Into the Spider-Verse thing.
Mhm.
The Spider-Man, the animated. And the first thing I'd say offhand is, wow, the animation, what a cool, graffiti comic style animation. They did a great job with that, dude. They really
Mhm.
killed that animation, but the story had hardly any plot. It was absolute mess. The characters were plastic and kind of useless. I think they did a good job with Miles, but in general, I don't need diversity Spider-Man. I already have Peter Parker, but I think the thing that the Spider-Verse showed me more clearly than I had already even known is how much they hate Peter Parker. I know they're really going after him because he's the face of Marvel, of course. But that movie really displays very clearly how much they hate him. They killed Peter not only once, twice. They killed him twice in that movie, actually.
Mhm.
And the one Peter Parker we had was the absolute nonsense the progressives have done to him. He's the bum, the goofy loser, the divorced, hated, sloppy, loser Peter Parker, right? This is what they did. I mean that's a hate letter to Peter Parker, that movie, right? Now, I'm not going to say anything negative about the animation because it was absolutely beautiful, but yeah, I don't know why so many of the comic book fans are loving on that book. That's a horrible movie.
I don't know. I saw about a half hour of it for the art mostly.
Hmm.
I got bored of the story, so I turned it off. But
Yeah,
I do plan to watch the rest of it.
it has no
Just
story
for
at
the
all.
visual.
It's just a political statement. It's an introduction of Miles Morales. I think they did a great job with his story though, and the art is stunning. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have a what do you call it? I have a chip on my shoulder about companies that spend millions of dollars on art, talent, all kinds of talent. But when it comes to writing, it seems they hand that off to some intern somewhere that doesn't actually know how stories work and
yeah,
film works. And,
yeah, right.
like I'm a huge Kurosawa nerd, and I talk about all like the craft of cinema and auteurs and all that good stuff. And it's like where's the talent anymore? There's like this bureaucracy going on behind all these scripts where you got a bunch of suits at a table saying, all right, we have to check these boxes for the story, and then they hand it off to some writer, and it's like, just make this work somehow, and we'll edit it, we'll make it work. They leave the script writing to people who don't seem to know what they're doing. I see this
It
pattern all the time.
Yeah, no, it's become a real problem all across the board. AAA as well, and they just can't handle the plot, and they drop holes everywhere. Um, we are going to move in and talk. You notice we're having a very comfortable conversation here with George, and we've spoken to him a couple of times, but we're going to introduce him to you guys right now. I will make my final comment on the debacle, controversy, non-controversy that's going on with the you guys in the chat. I really wish Rick Piper was a redhead because him being replaced by Jiminy would be epically, ironically funny. Actually, matter of fact, I suggest that you guys make Rick Piper go dye his hair red. I think it would be funny as hell. So when you guys get that done, I will find some kind of compensation for you. How's that? There you go. I will compensate you if you get Rick Piper on live redhead. That's the deal. You got it? All right. Let's move on. Excuse me. Oh goodness gracious. But now, George, For the folks here that don't know who you are, we're going to jump into your book here in a second. But before we do that, introduce yourself, dude. Tell them who you are. How did you come to this community? This community is quite a large one. It covers teen comics, the indie revival, Comicsgate. It's a big umbrella, right? But everyone
Mhm.
here agrees we want better comics. So we're all here for a reason. We're all supporting those things, no matter what side whatever you fall on. But
Yeah.
how did you come over here to this? How did you get involved?
It's an interesting. I always consider it like a bonfire. Like we've been out in the wilderness, so I came from a very different direction than I think a lot of other people. But I started my career in the. It was an attempt to create American manga. Actually, it
Hmm.
was called original English language manga, and so I started out in high school, middle school, reading a lot of anime, watching a lot of anime, playing a lot of games. I was a huge Japan freak, and I just read a ton of manga and I wanted to draw it. And by the time I graduated from high school and entered, I did a year of art school, I was certain that I wanted to do black and white comics in the style of Japan. And long story short is I published a couple of books and they didn't really blow up. And then the recession hit in 2007, 2008, and a lot of the publishers I was in touch with went out of business. So I had a little startup of a career when I was 20-ish and 21. I worked with Tokyo Pop, if anyone knows them, and I comics was not a thing. It was not possible. I tried to talk to all these different publishers, and none of them returned my calls or my solicitations. So I just got a normal job as a printmaker.
Oh, nice.
And years went by, and I was drawing comics for fun, and including this. I did a campaign a few months ago called Problematic. Um, and I was drawing that for like 10 years. And I was always drawing indie comics and always writing scripts. And I have all these different scripts sitting around my hard drive. And anyway, flash forward to a couple months ago, not a couple months, back in December, I think. I've been posting my stuff on Reddit. And I ran into some trouble. And I had been following Comicsgate for a long time, at least since Last Jedi. And I knew about the indie revival thing, and it's something that me and my peers were trying to do through original English language manga. We were trying to basically break away from the DC and Marvel formula. We were trying to bring different genres because we loved manga so much. We were trying to bring all these different genres to the States and try to popularize them.
Hmm.
So I connected with the message of whatever this movement is. And anyway, because I ran into trouble on Reddit, I was asking for all this help. And eventually I got it and I met all these amazing people. I started a couple campaigns on Indiegogo, and I don't know, I've been working in games development for the past few years, but it looks like maybe comics can be a real career thing again. So I'm giving that a shot this year.
Well, it's awesome. And of course, you are a writer and an artist, which brings up a very interesting subject for me. I got a big storm here. I'm just kind of closing my doors and stuff. But
Mhm.
it brings up a very interesting question for me. I'm going to go over and I'm going to show your new project, which is Mare Sue or Mary Sue. And but you had a project come out before that we talked about on the show. We reviewed it here, and I personally didn't care for the art style personally. Not to the story and all that's a whole different conversation, but just I didn't like it much. But then I saw this project, and you did both projects, and this one is gorgeous, dude.
Mhm.
So I'm very curious how obviously you can draw in different styles, and just explain how you did with problematic, because you have a little bit of a political satire going on in your book. But how did you go from the political, problematic art style to this just beautiful book you got going on here? What was the deal?
Well, ever since I was, let's say, middle school, I've always had at least two series. Like at the lunch table, I would have two series running to show my friends. One was a comic strip, and the other one was like a serious comic. And my comic strip was just this dumb stick figure ish, telling gags and stuff like that.
I see.
And then my serious one was me trying to really draw as hard as I could. So my goal I suppose with the strips, like Problematic was just to be cartoonish and silly and cute and fun, and especially black and white. My aim was to copy, or rather follow in the tradition of, say, Peanuts or Calvin and Hobbes, something like that. And so Problematic is drawn in that 4-panel format as if it was to be read in a comic section of a newspaper.
Oh, I see.
So I had to stick to that format, and sometimes I break the format just for fun, but it's kind of locked in right now. So that series is its own identity. I try not to change the formula too much, but in the meantime, I also, like I mentioned, I've been a game developer for like 5-6 years, and that requires things like animation, concept art, all kinds of different duties, art related stuff that I have been painting and drawing for a very long time. I just don't really have a lot of projects that require me to use them. So as I was looking for my next project after Problematic finished, I was thinking like, I'd like to try just one more time to pitch something to this community and see if it would stick. So I was doodling on Twitter, posting stuff, and one of the sketches I did of Mari Sue here really stuck, and a lot of people liked it. And I was like, oh crap, maybe I'll do another sketch. And it also did well. And then I did more sketches, and I was like, okay, this is the one. This is the one I'm going to pitch. And this is it. This is Mari Sue. This is one of the dozens of stories that I've had sitting on my hard drive for years, ready to be drawn. It's there's all these scripts, but in the past I could never get a publisher to talk to me. So now I'm just going directly to the audience. Why not?
Why not? Yeah. And this book is bright, colorful, and yet adult. It has a bit of a whimsy to it, but yet it has, like I said, the edge to it. We were talking a little bit beforehand. I really getting almost like a heavy metal feel off of it. And I love this art, dude. I think this is beautiful. It's very stylistic, and because you guys always say I'm biased about these kind of things, and I suppose I am. But for me, I don't mind style. I don't mind different takes. It doesn't have to be photorealistic all the time. This isn't. This is a painterly type of style here he's got going on. But
Mhm.
look at it, dude. Look at this thing. It's alive. It's gorgeous. And so for me, all I want is something that speaks to me, something that has something, has quality to it. And this is definitely stylistic. I don't know what you would call this style, but I love it, dude. This is a beautiful thing. And you do feet as well as John Dillard does, actually. John Dillard's feet are killer. These
That's so funny. Like my wife keeps commenting about how I have very distinctive feet. I don't
they're
get
good.
it.
You
No,
got
you
the
know what
gold
it is?
feet.
For years I couldn't draw them, and then I just decided to like make them my own way. Like they're basically modeled after hands, so they flex the same way that hands do. So I always have my characters, I guess, with their like toes all sticking out. But the colors, there's a lot of stylistic tricks that I actually have been employing for this series. Like I did a number of test pages. What's really driving the art style of this series is actually speed. So I'm taking a lot of artistic shortcuts when I do each one of these pages
Uh-huh.
because I want to try to make one page a day, no matter what. So even if some of the pages disappoint me ultimately, I'm going to just skip ahead, and as I'm producing it, I'm basically going to do only a page a day. And then if I have time at the end of production, it's going to be what, 2 issues, about 25 pages each, or 25 to 30. So about 2 months of production. And if I can finish ahead of time, then I'll go back and polish pages that disappoint me, let's say. But the whole goal of this is to draw as fast as possible. So I'm actually taking a lot of, if anyone's familiar with like Photoshop tricks and stuff like that, I'm taking every trick and shortcut that I can without sacrificing quality.
I see.
And
Yeah, we have
some
many.
of those tricks?
We have. Go ahead,
Well,
Dinale.
Yeah. So, what are some of those techniques or tricks, if you're willing to share, that you
Of
are
course.
actually using? Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone's familiar with Photoshop and how it works, there
Mhm.
are things called blending layers. And you could take, let's say, a black and white picture from the 20s, let's say. And then you can add another blending layer on top of it that will colorize that painting or that photograph. So
Sure.
I could take a black and white photograph, you put some peach over the skin or something like that. You put some blue over the sky, right? You could colorize the image. So a lot of these panels in Mary Sue are drawn in black and white, and then I colorize them. And then once the colors, I don't do this for every panel, but for a lot of them, I colorize them, and then I start doing like color adjustments and basically a lot of tricks that I'm drawing the whole series almost in black and white, and then I'm colorizing it on top of it. So there's a lot of little weird tricks that I'm doing instead of painting painting every panel in color. Basically, it's like a kitchen sink thing, just whatever's fastest. Some of the panels I draw with just a pencil layer, and then I slap some color underneath it.
Mhm.
And when I make,
So you're basically doing like a layered version where you're just putting like for this image right here, you basically had one color and then you really focus on Mari and just to give it some personality. You didn't focus on that. That's black and white, so to speak, and with a different radiant color.
the robot behind her, or the suit, her mech suit, was drawn in black and white, and then I started like I can never decide what colors to choose until after the it's called I call it a value layer. The black and white layer is finished. So I didn't even know that I wanted it to be green until I drew her, and then I decided, okay, she's going to be wearing purple shorts, blue shirt, and those decided the background color for me. So I have, because I'm trained in black and white, I actually have a lot of trouble with color. So I have to sort of pick my colors based on what little I know about color theory, and so that ends up like you mentioned, like the heavy metal style, and Mobius was one of the great artists of heavy metal, or one of the founders.
Sure.
And I've always noticed his art is very colorful, and upon studying it, I realized that the comics of those days, like the 90s, used a lot of flat colors and vibrant neons. And they were just looking at color theory charts and deciding, okay, well, there's a lot of purple here, so I guess I should slap some green on. And according to color theory, there are certain colors that go well together. Mm-hmm. So when I choose my colors, it's all very much about what do I want the reader to look at in this image? That's what's going to get the most color. And then everything that I don't think is important in the image, I'm going to have it recede with simple muted colors. And I'm just learning this as I go, really. But it seems to be working. Like, I want people to look at Mari in this picture.
Sure.
So
the robot. Mm-hmm. So you're basically kind of, even with the panels you're making, you're still directing with color where you want the audience or the reader to look at. Where's the important information, where you want to get the panel from.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
When composing the page from scratch, the first thing that you want to do, I should actually show these because it's really cool. I basically draw the whole comic in stick figures with dialogue balloons. And then I read it to make sure that it flows nicely. Like the eye goes from the left to the right to the neck, like make a Z shape or something like that as you go from panel to panel, word balloon to word balloon. You want to make sure that there's no crisscrossing of the like the eyeball, like a train track, let's say. You want to make sure there's no X's anywhere.
Sure.
And once you decide that, you also have to decide on things like color, value, and all of these things have to dictate subtly where is the reader's eye going to how is it going to flow across the page. And when I open the page, I also want to plan all of these pages like 2 at a time, so that you're not only reading one page, you're reading the full 2-page spread. So I want all the colors to flow together and be pleasing to the eye. That's very important. I think a lot of comics are just sort of slapped together thoughtlessly. Maybe that's just my bias. I'm just talking out my butt.
I don't think I disagree with you, actually. I do want to catch something here in the chat real quick. Roger Heller says, did you guys move TFT? Well, no. Yesterday, YouTube shut down streaming in Japan. Like I said, they're having some kind of rolling blackouts. Like today, right now, the EU is out for streaming. You can watch YouTube, you just can't stream. So it's obviously a very specific thing they're doing. We don't know exactly what they're up to, but I couldn't do that yesterday. Of course, we have George here and his great project, Marisu, and we didn't want him not have an opportunity to talk about it. We definitely wanted to talk to George. So we've replaced TFT today, and we're just having a recast of FanSpeak, and I'm happy we are actually. And I'm really happy all you guys are in here. And just keep in mind that hitting that subscribe button and like, of course, is great. We appreciate that. But really, what we need is you hit the share button and let your family and friends and extended community know what's going on so they come check us out. We are a live stream, so we'd rather have people in here live. Although we do appreciate all the people who go back and watch the show simply as a YouTube upload, which is very surprising to Dinale and I think, because we get a lot of people come back and watch the show, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And one of our members who gives up news as well says he listens to us in the morning while he's driving.
And
So there
Samali,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
Simon.
and Samali does. Of course, he's from Sweden, I think, or Finland. I think it's Sweden, and he does a great job of adding news and different ideas. Many people do. Of course, Denali's in charge of news for FanSpeak, of course, but they put up a lot of reviews, news, information. The FanSpeak is really we're very proud of it over on Facebook because it's grown. We're well over 200 people now, and the community is very active. So that's really awesome. And Star Storyteller says, remember to like that video. Yeah, please. It definitely helps us. Like I said, though, I think the sharing is what helps us the most. But nevertheless, let's come over here and we've been showing this art, and he's been talking about his style, which is awesome. We've actually had a couple conversations about color theory here. One of the things we do here, George, is we've been running a various series since the beginning, having the best pro we can get to talk about the subject. Like for instance, we did a great inking tutorial with Art T Bear. We've had storytelling tutorials with Mike Barron. Where we've done many things on every aspect of how you make a comic. We've talked to people about. Would really like to get a big time pro colorist in here to talk about color theory and stuff because we talked about that a little bit, but we definitely want to do an in depth on that because it's something we love to talk about over here. Nevertheless, let me read this overview because this is Mary Sue or Mari Sue, the Japanese anime joke. Of course, that's how the Japanese pronounce Mary. But it says exosuit pilot Rosemary Susan Oppenheimer has been given every advantage except a clue. The overview. Rosemary is a problem solver who has everything: an incredible exosuit with a ton of optional loadouts, a space cruiser with 2 floors of livable space, a crabby mentor with endless resources. Only thing is, she causes as much trouble as she solves. Join Marty as she explores an unfamiliar universe, scrutinizing mysteries that are personal, professional, societal, and existential, while doing her best not to break everything along the way. Now, your stories, at least the two I've seen, George, they do have a touch of political satire to them. So, what is the political satire in this book?
It's going to depend on the story arcs, and it's going to also depend how long the story is. There are a lot of let's say side content that I can explore. For instance, she might travel to a certain planet type of place where she has to kill a monster that's been terrorizing a local town, and only to later find that like Space PETA is now going to send assassins after her because she's murdered like a beautiful endangered monster.
I get it.
Um, that turns out to be like an elder god or something like that. And well, she's a mercenary. So, for instance, she'll be going after people who, I mean, she's just an adventurer. But let's put it this way: there's a lot of consequences to what she does in the story. So maybe there will be inspirations from real life, like for instance, Antifa, who I have no love for. There are people like that who just want to cause trouble in a societal level, and maybe she'll square off against them, and maybe it won't be in a way that we think it is. Like maybe she has a friend that's been sucked into it, and she can't just fight them. She has to save her friends. So there's a lot of like little side stories that I could pursue, but I also don't want that to be at the expense of the main story. So I'm going to have to see how well this campaign does and then plan the rest of the series accordingly. I might have to skip some content or present it differently depending on how popular this is.
Oh, cool. And actually, I don't know why, but while you were saying that, the Star Trek episode, the original Star Trek episode, "Love for Adonis," I think it's called, jumped into my mind, where of course they go to a planet and they find Apollo. And the real Apollo, and
Mhm.
he is wants them to worship them and care for them and stuff. He's like hanging on, and of course, in the end, they end up destroying him. And the of course the entire subplot is that do we or do we not need gods anymore? And this whole that whole concept, of course, is the science fiction, the political commentary that the original Star Trek did so well. But
Yeah.
it just made me think of that, the big creature that's a great old one that PETA must protect, or avenge in the end.
Yeah.
That particular episode came to me. But then again, we're talking about really good story writing. Unfortunately, unlike Discovery, which is written by a bunch of guinea pigs in a glass cage. I don't know what to tell you about it, but it is what it is. But all right. So just a touch of political satire. Then it's not over the top. So
It's something that well, Star Trek is actually a good, I was never a huge Trekkie, but I appreciate the idea of thinking of space as an ocean and
mhm,
you're just going from island to island, exploring new places and people.
yeah.
So there actually is something notable about the universe of her story, Mary. It's not like our universe. Like there's no blackness out there. It's just lots of pools of color and weirdness, and every section of space is different. There are different rules. Gravity is different. She can breathe in some parts of space. And every society there is going to be a little different. So the only consistent thing is that she's traveling from world to world in her ship, and she's going on adventures using her suit. And you know, there is an overarching story, but she can and will visit lots of different types of worlds and interact with different types of people. So I think the Star Trek analogy is very apt here.
Yeah,
And
no, I
talk
was getting that feeling too. Yeah.
and talking about the first story, can you tell us what the first story is about? A synopsis of the first two issues?
Yeah, sure. In this case, we're going to open the story with Mari's on a luxury cruise ship with her mentor, whose name is Dr. Masaka. That's the Japanese word for sort of like saying, I don't believe it, because she keeps messing up. And, I thought that was funny. And so he's retiring and he wanted to go on a cruise ship with her, and she's on a little mission doing bodyguard duty for a client. And I guess the first half of the story is just her being annoying to everybody on the ship, and she feels kind of I guess she feels nobody wants to talk to her because she's a kind of a dork, and she only has one friend on the ship who's a janitor on this luxury ship, and it's the guy we saw her dancing with, and they have a little romantic thing going on. It's pretty cute, but eventually the ship is attacked by sort of a gang of space pirates or the space mafia, something like that.
Mhm.
And the short version is she has to spring into action and, save the day. But unfortunately, there are a lot of consequences to when she springs into action, and she causes a lot of damage. And I don't want to spoil, I guess, but this luxury ship episode will kick off a series of events that will ultimately lead her to her story arc concluding.
Mhm.
Not concluding, but let's say
Mhm.
being realized. So by by participating with this space pirate fight, she's actually getting in way deeper than she wants to. So it's sort of like a rolling start, I guess.
Mhm.
Right.
Um,
This is reminding me of the Cowboy Bebops, that
Yeah,
vibe
yeah,
where
man, I love Cowboy
I,
Bebop.
Cowboy
I'm
Bebop's
listening,
amazing. Yeah.
and the way you're describing the fights reminded me of the jazz from the opening episode where he's fighting and they're destroying everything and making it worse. So
Yes.
every time they come to the bounty, they have to pay all the damages and they still are poor.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's
Um,
basically what'll happen to her too.
oh, there you go. Cool.
Well,
Money
it's the problem is
Geek Studios is in here. He says, hello to you, dude. He said, what's new around here? Well, dude, we're talking to George Alexopoulos about his amazingly beautiful Marisu. I mean, look at this damn page. This panels I'm stuck on right here. Look at the color and the action. It's dynamic. I did have a quick question for you, George. Masaka, the doctor's name. How are you trying to use it?
Masaka, as in, you would say it like, I don't believe it.
Yeah, it means
I would suddenly
impossible.
turn.
No way. That ain't happening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Masaka. Yeah.
So I thought that's a funny little. I'm not by any means fluent with Japanese, but I'm such a nerd and fan of it that like
Mm.
I want to use it everywhere I can.
Oh no, I think it's fine. Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. And if you have any questions on those kind of things, I can help you. Because sometimes, in this case, you're fine. I think it would have been funnier if you called him Doctor Dame. That would have been
Okay.
funnier from a Japanese point of view, but what you're using is fine. It gets across what you want, but there's a difference between a written, dictionary form of a language and the spoken form, the colloquial form. So if you have any kind of questions about Japanese or things like that, I can certainly help you out with it, dude.
Yeah, man, I'd appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it would have been really funny if you called him Dr. Dame. The Japanese would have got it, but then again, this isn't for Japanese; this is for Westerners, so it's
Well,
fine.
actually, there is another character I could give that name to.
Yeah. Dame
Maybe
means
I'll do that.
no, stop, don't do it. You know,
But it's very stern. If you say that to someone, it's like very harsh, right?
or funny, depending on how you use it,
Okay.
right? It's like
I remember.
if I'm with a bunch of kids, right? You have this word baka, right, which means silly or foolish. But it has
Yeah.
many forms. You have baka, you have bakaero, you have bakatare. You have many forms of it, and how you use it really, and how you inflect it, really will change the meaning drastically. And usually,
Mm.
the word baka is kind of a naughty word that you don't usually say, but I'll use it in a classroom with kids or adults in the right way and get a huge laugh. So it's just
Okay.
how you present it for Japanese more so than what the word means. But
Gotcha.
yeah, but Masaka is fine. It's just very
Okay.
formal, is all. It's just very formal.
I see. I see. I was going to name him Roshi Masaka, but then I thought that would have been too blatant. I wanted to give him a creepy old man vibe like Master
Sure,
Roshi from Dragon Ball Z,
sure.
but then I decided to give the creepy old man vibe to her pet fox instead.
Which is a great little piece of art you have on here with that fox, by the way.
My cat does that to me. And I was like, I have to put that in the book somehow. Like she'll take our clothes and make a mound out of it and sleep on it, and she'll hiss and scratch at us when we try to push her off.
Oh, sure.
And I just think it's so funny to have like the fox's name is Bork, and I love it's such a I want that pet fox. Like he's got a knife, he's got scars, he doesn't want you to touch his underwear collection. Uh, it's the funniest, man.
Well, it's a
It's so
beautiful piece of art too, dude. I mean, look at that. That is gorgeous. I'm really, really digging on your art style here, dude, a lot. And I think the people in the chat are as well. But so we got ourselves a cool book. We've had many references, cool references to what's going on in here with the story. It looks really great. And I love this little bit of excitement coming from her and the shaky knees, and it's awesome. Particularly, I love these panels right here. I mean, that is dynamic and colorful. Look at that, Dinale.
Yeah.
It's beautiful,
And
dude.
looking at the ship, is that the cruise ship or is that her ship?
That's actually the engine room that she got suplexed through the deck. She got thrown into the engine room and they have
Right
this
here.
giant fight. Yeah. And part of the fights are actually, I think, are really cool is I don't want her to just part of the Mary Sue trope is that they're overpowered in terms of the archetype. So
Right.
she'll have a lot of power to her suit, but she sucks at using it. So that thing floating next to her is her battery, and she uses it way too liberally. And she'll frequently like run out of battery very quickly. And her fights are actually more her against herself and learning to manage the resources she has. Like that giant gun is way too powerful to be using the way that she's using it. So her shtick and her thing, her part of her development, I guess, throughout the series, is going to learn to be responsible with this way overpowered suit. But the problem is also she'll be breaking it all the time, and it's not replaceable. So she'll be losing pieces of equipment as fast as, like, she'll win fights maybe, but she's losing a lot every time she wins. So by the end of the series, it would be a huge surprise if like she has anything left over.
So
Wow,
it's kind
that's
of like
interesting.
so it's kind of like growing up. Basically, you're young and you don't know how well you have it, but as you grow older, your body starts to wear down, and it's kind of that way where you have to learn your body can't do it. What you used to, the abuses you used to do, physical abuses. So I
I
see that
see.
analogy
Yeah.
from what you're
Like,
talking about as well.
everyone was saying with like Rey, for example, from Star Wars, that she's overpowered and she's perfect. She could do everything the first time she tries it. It's like, fine, let's give her that, but also she doesn't know how to use the power she has. Like, say she gets to drive the Millennium Falcon, but then she crashes it immediately. And it's gone. She can't use it anymore. And she
Right.
can get a lightsaber, but then she accidentally, kills some politician with it and she goes to jail. She, like, everything she has that's been given to her is not, she didn't earn it, any of it. So she has to learn to deserve the power that she's been given. And by the time she learns it, she's probably going to lose it all. I don't know.
And
I'm
therefore,
not going to spoil
at the end of the story, I'm assuming also that another twist you'll put on is that she starts going by the name Susan.
it. Maybe. I don't
Right.
know.
Well, because if you're going to make her grow up and learn something and actually become, something that's not a Mary Sue, well, then you're going to have to demonstrate that in several ways, right?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
going to have to depend on, like, of course I have the whole plan. It's all ready to go. And
Awesome. Awesome.
it's just a question of how we're going to get there.
Well, I'm loving the look of this book, dude. I mean, and I'm loving sitting here talking to you, getting the idea. I feel very confident of what I'm going to get from you. And we didn't when we talked about the problematic, we didn't have you on at that time. Of course, at that time we were still we're still small, but at that time we didn't have really much access, so our guests were very few and infrequent. Whereas today we get a lot of these Indiegogo creators will come on the show, and which is awesome. But
Yeah.
I think if I had spoken to you before with a problematic, I think I would have got it and been on more on board than I was, because I'm 100% on board this thing. Right? I think this is gorgeous,
I
and I like
appreciate
the
it.
idea too. So, but anyway, uh, let me come down here. I got a lot of people in the chat. They're not really saying much today. They're basically saying hi to each other. There's a little bit of them joking about the controversy around the Drawn Recorded Fan Edition, which is fine. It's funny. I get a kick out of it. But I'm just checking real quick. I don't. Everyone's just kind of saying hello and thank you to each other. But this is a really cool looking book, guys. Definitely do me a favor, and of course, if you want to back it, please do back it. I mean, look at the thing; it's beautiful. But also, just share it out. That helps as well. Even if you can't put money toward it, just share it, and that helps them out. We say that all the time, but it actually means something. I heard about the coming ginger apocalypse. They're still talking about the ginger apocalypse, we'll talk about that later. I do want to ask one question, George, just real quick. You have a Greek family name, Alexopoulos. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing this correctly.
Yeah. It's very simple as far as Greek names go.
All right, good, 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 good. Um,
Yeah.
so, do you come from a family who's very proud of your Greek history?
Any Greek would be, but
Right.
especially with Greek Americans, I suppose. Yeah, they immigrated here in the 60s and 70s. And yeah, I'm actually first generation. So they all spoke Greek in my house. I'm
Uh-huh.
bilingual and or I was bilingual. I don't really practice it anymore. But yeah, it's been really interesting because I joke with myself, like, I'm obviously American and I grew
Sure.
up with a huge Greek background, but I'm also like a massive Japan nerd. So there's like these three very different cultures that I'm like neck deep in. And I guess that influences the kind of stuff that you make, maybe subtly.
I imagine.
So it's
Sure.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know how to, whatever this DNA is, that, like, for instance, I wrote a short story where woman goes to Japan, no, to Greece on a trip to visit family, and that actually won an international manga award. And they flew me out there to Japan to like receive this award. And I was thinking, like,
Sweet.
wow, this is like a marriage of all my favorite cultural things. And it was just the coolest. Like, it's a book about being Greek. I am an American, and now I've been flown to Japan, the place where like it's the birthplace of manga, right?
Right.
And it was just the coolest thing.
That does sound cool, dude. And it is
Yeah.
interesting what we appreciate in life too. But the reason I mention it is for two reasons. One, like I said, I don't know if I said it online, but my mother's family is actual Mayflower. I mean, legitimately, we can trace right from Alan all the way up to my grandma. So I'm a Mayflower. Therefore, I'm 100% American, right? But
Mhm.
but the Irish aspect of my mother's family is very, very important. I grew up steeped in Irish mythology and Irish culture, Irish language, just steeped in it, even though my family's been in America for nearly 400 years.
Mhm.
Yet on the other side, in response to this, in respect to this, is the fact that when I went to high school, my very best friend I had, I'm not going to mention his name online, but he and I were best friends. We were in track team together. We both played tuba, et cetera, et cetera. His family came through that same migration you mentioned, and
Mhm.
his parents are both professors at the university, and they were very, of course, super proud of their Greek heritage and stuff like that. And I got a lot of influence from that. But we also took a trip one summer which they brought me along because I was so good friends with their son, to
Mhm.
Greece. And I stayed in Greece
Oh,
an
yeah.
entire summer, dude.
Where'd you go?
Well, they lived outside of Athens, but during that summer, which is more than 2 months, it was about 9, 10 weeks. I say we were there the whole summer.
Wow.
They took us a ride around to various places because they had been a couple times with their sons, their children before, but there was very short stay. They were just visiting family and they come back. They never had a time to really, stay and spend time in Greece with their family either. So they took the kids to all the various locations. So we drove all around Greece actually, and went and saw all the stuff and the Aegean, swimming in the Aegean Sea every day. It was
Yeah.
really fun summer, dude. I'll
That's
never forget it.
I've got to actually visit again this autumn. I have to visit family for a thing,
Mhm.
but it'll be my first time going by myself, and I'm both I'm both a little worried because I don't speak the language perfectly, but I'm also really excited to get to explore it at my own pace for the first time.
Well,
Before I was always dragged around by family. I didn't know where I was.
oh, well, sure. I got dragged around like that too. But it's interesting me sitting here thinking and just talking about it offhand. That summer, because I was like what, my sophomore year, I guess. I think
Mm.
it was my sophomore year. But so I was like 15 or something like that. But that summer might well have been why I ended up becoming a linguist. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even really think of it before, but I bet you it did because I tried real hard that summer to pick up the language as best as I could, and I did pick it up very quickly. I found I had a good ear for language in that summer, and I don't know, but that might well have been why I ended up becoming a linguist. Actually, that particular summer. It's interesting. Hmm. But they don't want me talking about that in here because every time I talk about anything that's science, history related, or academic, I get yelled at by the chat. So we shan't do that, okay? I'm not doing it. I'm coming down here. Look at the perks. See.
Yeah,
Watch.
yeah, yeah. Let's look at the
We're
perks.
looking at the perks, and I left it in
Yeah,
Japanese because you guys said, "Chase the Japanese look so much better." All right, fine.
it does. It does.
All right, here we go. For 1,084 yen, we have a digital edition, guys, and that's about $8. Uh, so,
Mhm.
um, yeah, tell us about this. We're going to go through the perks right now. So just tell us what are we getting with the digital here?
Sure. I don't know what the format's going to be for sure, but I'm going to release the first two issues as probably like either PDFs or something like that. And yeah, I'll just send a download link to everybody who backs it, and you can read the book. And I mean, it's like with a physical book. I suppose you could show your friends. There's nothing I could do to stop you, but I would ask everyone to please be responsible with that.
Sure.
And yeah, so you can pay a small amount to just contribute to the book and its production, and you'll get to read it as it's being made.
Awesome. I see Bianca Fights is here. Hello. I see we have Obi-Wan Reviews. Very nice to see you, sir. We have Manny from Good Dog Press, dude. Hey, congratulations on Skunk Girl, dude. I'm glad. I'm great. Happy to see how well it's doing, dude. And with this right here, we talk about this with everybody that comes in. There's a real divide in the community on whether to do digital or not do digital, right?
Mhm.
And you obviously went digital. So what made you lean that direction? Because there's people who are staunchly against it, right?
Yeah, and I totally understand why they would be. From a business perspective, there's no right answer, I think. There's no way to protect your, let's say I release a digital version where it's impossible to copy the file
Hmm.
and all that stuff. People can still screenshot it and reassemble it and then make a PDF of it
Sure,
and distribute it online.
that's right.
So I know that
Easily.
if people, yeah, and if people want to read it online, like there are sites where I can't stop them. There's nothing I can do. So I thought it would be best to just responsibly just create a PDF or something like that,
Hmm.
distribute it, and just have this indie feel of like, listen, everybody who's reading this, I hope you really genuinely like the book, and I hope you're willing and able to support somehow sharing it around, getting more people to read and enjoy it, so that I can keep making more books. Because really, like, if I can't, this is kind of a make or break project. Like, if I can't make a living at it, like, I can't continue it. So the hope is that enough people will read it, even digitally, even if they share the PDF with their friends. Like, it's possible that can be a thing. Like, I read a lot of scanlations of manga back in the day. Like, I understand how it is. You're
Sure,
young, you don't have a
sure.
lot of money, you just want to read a book. It's okay to share the PDF with your friends. I get it. I wouldn't want someone to make money off of it, of course. But the hope is that people will get the PDF. If they share it with their friends, then their friends will be like, "Oh wow, I really want to help support this project," and then get the next chapter. So the business model I'm hoping is that everybody will be so into the story that they'll want to fund it so that they can read more. And that's the gamble I'm taking. I realize that can be viewed as stupid. uh, but that's just, I'm assuming piracy is inevitable. So why not embrace, like, why not get ahead of the piracy and just be like, look, here's the book. Um, that's all I can do. I
Yeah.
don't know. But honestly, if you guys want to help me make the book faster, this is the best way to do it.
Well, sure. It's a very direct way too. And
Yeah.
I get that argument. I've heard that argument many times. But I also understand the argument of your international backers and making something more convenient for them. Especially because with like myself, I back this book, I'm paying $25 for shipping. You know.
Yeah. Shipping internationally is so
Hmm.
expensive.
And there's nothing you do about it. We see many projects come up, and people complain about they complain about the shipping cost, and it's like, what do you want to do? And there's certain projects that will absorb that shipping cost, and I guarantee you, dude, if they don't make big money, they're paying out their pocket. I'm guaranteeing you, right? So
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do about it.
I did take a few hits with the problematic collection, where I miscalculated international shipping, but
Hmm.
that's not something that the customer, like, that was my mistake. I'm not going to pass that on to the customer, right? But like,
Sure.
I know that shipping domestically here in the States is only like $5. It's nothing. But internationally, I've had books go out to Canada for around 20, I think, 16 to $20, if I
Yeah.
recall. I've sent books out to like Germany for $20, 25. So domestic is really easy. We have something in America called media mail, and that's like $3 plus some change,
Hmm.
and then the extra buck goes towards like packaging and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, but yeah, the digital option I think is awesome for anybody who, like, that's, I hate to say it, but like a lot of books on Indiegogo are really expensive, mine included, and that's really just to cover the printing costs, because printing in color in small batches is so expensive.
Hmm.
But if you just want to back the project and read it and enjoy it, digital is definitely a valid choice.
I 100% agree. and support that choice, dude. Like for instance, Hillel here from New Hero Comics, he says there are many projects I haven't supported because of shipping. Now Hillel lives in Israel, which is another expensive shipping zone, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
yeah.
Yeah, man, I don't know. It's printing costs are insanely high for indie people. I
Yes,
won't say how much the costs are, but printing in black and white is reasonable, but printing this book in color is going to cost a lot of money.
it does.
So, so I don't know. I don't know how realistic it is to, like, for instance, I want to also publish this book and put it on store shelves at my local shops,
Sure.
but it's going to be so expensive for them just because my printing costs are so high that I don't know if anyone's going to buy it. But maybe, I don't know. I guess that's what indie is. We're just all experimenting. We're doing the best we can to keep costs down.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
this is why we are very supportive of groups like, for instance, Ben Henderson, who we had on the show just a couple weeks ago. And of course, Ben Henderson is the creator and control and boss of the Cautionary Comics. And they're moving through and doing a lot of, they're being very ambitious. We also have Peter Simeti will Alterna Comics. And we need to shift to these things because this direct market thing, which Ethan was so proud of, and I don't disagree with him. It's cool, but it's very expensive. The reason
Yeah, it
why these
is.
big companies are able to do what they do and run at the red lines that they run at is because of their very low cost for printing. And so things like Cautionary Comics and Alternate Comics, Antarctic, even to a point. Oh, although we know that the bit of the debacle around that. Um, these are companies we need to support. And if we can
Mhm.
even get more things coming out of this community, we've had a lot of people threaten stuff, but we haven't seen anything. Right. The only people I see really moving forward are A&M Print Solutions. And of course, those are the guys behind White Widow, and they're doing an awesome job. And Cautionary Comics with Ben Henderson. Of course, Peter with Alterna has been doing that for a long time, quite
Mhm.
successfully. And he is taken the art of newsprint to amazing levels. And I think it's. I got a couple of comments the other day. Why was I so soft on Ben Henderson when it came to kill Savage, Kill All Men, and the printing issues they have with that? Well, the reason why is because they're trying their best to find an economic way to do this. And I want to support them, and you should too.
Mhm.
Yeah, because if you look at that book, the story was fine, the art was really good, the coloring was great. So yeah, the paper was thin, and the color got a bit muddy. Give them a chance, man. They're gonna work it out. They're gonna work it out, right? That's why I did that, and I'm not
Mhm.
wrong either to have done that. That's exactly what we should be doing, actually.
There's a lot of, if I say plate spinning, I hope that makes sense.
It
Being
does.
an indie person, you're doing so many jobs at once. Like, just producing a good book, writing and drawing it is in itself like two jobs.
Hmm.
Plus, you're printing, you're marketing, you're distributing, you're shipping stuff out. There are so many jobs that you're doing at the same time that it's almost a miracle that any books get shipped. So this is my first time printing in color, at least a book like this. I have been a printmaker for many years, so
Hmm.
I'm used to it. But I've never actually published a comic in this format, so I'm not used to the costs. But I think in future campaigns, I am going to look into offering, like, for instance, I know Peter Samiti has a partnership program where you can print using his service. So maybe I'll offer, like, in addition to the cheap digital option here, I'll also offer an Alterna printed version of the book on newsprint, let's say.
Hmm.
But that can get expensive. So I don't know if we're talking like hundreds of sales. I need to hit a certain number of sales before I think that becomes reasonable. Another
Well,
option is I'm also thinking of investing in a really fancy printer and just printing the comics myself. And like, it'll hurt me in the short term, but in the long term, I actually think I could save money by printing my own comics at home.
Well, if I might make a suggestion to you, as well as because we have a lot of creators in our chat, by the way,
Mhm.
we have many artists, many creators over here, many pros working, right? And the my suggestion to you, as it would be to them, is do this in direct marketing thing with Indiegogo. It could be it gets us talking about it. You can make a little bit of money on it, sometimes a lot if you get lucky, right? But I would go and talk to people like Peter or maybe particularly Ben Henderson with Cautionary Comics because we've spoken to Ben. I've spoken to Ben many times. I think we all have. He's very active in the community, and one, I think Ben would appreciate your thinking. And two,
Mhm.
I think you have a project here that, as far as the aftermarket, the after Indiegogo market, you might want to look at going toward them and doing a release through them, right?
Mhm.
Or even Peter. Peter's a more established, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But you have a great looking project here, so you might want to do that, and some of the other guys too. Do the Indiegogo thing, but then aftermarket, try to see if you can have a little more legs on the project. You know what I mean? You should
Yeah,
definitely talk to him.
it's gonna have to. We're gonna see how this project or this campaign goes. This is sort of like a if you were pitching to an editor, let's say, to see if people want to buy into it. In manga, also you do a manga pilot, right? So this is like the pilot.
Mm,
If people get their books and they really like it, and this campaign does well, the next campaign I think I'm going to really turn it up a notch, let's say, and really look into bigger, better options. Like I'll have a better idea of how many people might want to get the book. Like right now, I have no idea how many people are going to get the book.
mhm.
So I guess I'm just waiting and seeing. I mean, it's only been a week and a half, I think, the campaign, and we've sold, I think, 70 copies so far,
Sweet.
something like that. And it's been
Nice.
awesome. Yeah. So I couldn't have predicted that at all. The problematic campaign, I think, got like 80 something. So it looks like we're going to beat that. And so maybe the next campaign will get even more people. I don't know.
That's how
But
you do it. You build it up
yeah,
little by little, right? Yeah.
I
And
think
uh
so.
and I certainly hope that you go on to other channels, YouTube channels here and talk to people. We're certainly proud and happy to have you over here, but there are plenty of channels that are much bigger than ours. Hopefully you'll get in and sit with them and get as much exposure for this book as possible. Now I am sitting here looking at this perk for the $25, pretty standard one. Then we have the ubiquitous double bundle, which we see around a lot, which is awesome. A lot of people seem to like that one actually. But then we have a problematic bundle. What's going on with this one?
Yeah, it's just the printed version from above. You get the two books plus the a couple of goodies, and then in case anyone missed out on the problematic collection, which was my last campaign,
Mhm.
I have a whole bunch of extra copies. So if you want that book, you can actually click on my name at the top of this campaign and look at the campaign from the problematic collection.
Sure,
And
sure.
yeah, some people have said they wanted copies of that, so I was happy to offer that.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the problematic itself? What is that collection?
Sure. It's gosh, where do I start? It's a comic strip that I've been drawing for 10 years in my free time. It's a four-panel format like Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes.
Hmm.
It's about a 20-something young man who's in the professional world, who's, shy. He has a hard time talking to girls. His best friend is a girl who hates him, and he has a best friend who just got married, and his wife hates him too. And it's kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm and I Love Lucy and
A
all
little
these
bit
like
like
weird.
Dilbert, maybe.
Yeah, there's a million different comics that it's like pulling inspiration from, but it's a lot of fun. And if anyone actually wants to read it, you can read it for free on a website called Webtoon. It's called Problematic, and you can actually probably, I don't know if it's on my Twitter, if it's easy to find, but if you go to Webtoon and type in Problematic, you'll find it, or type in my name.
Sweet.
You can read the whole series for free, and the book is just a collection of like 550 strips. Uh, it's just like the whole catalog, in case anyone wants to buy it. I always joke it's a good toilet book.
Oh, there you go. Now, Mary Sue here, we have, of course, with as above, we have number one and number two. Now, yeah, I'm assuming each of these books are like a 25, 26 page no, standard comic book.
Yeah, we're going for the I think 30 pages max. I even joked with myself that I might include fake ads and stuff to to follow the old format of the 90s comics when I used to read comics.
Oh, sure. And if
So
you want to make one of those fake ads say FanSpeak and have www.fanspeak.live, that would be fun.
We could do that. I'll have to see. Yeah, I haven't planned out exactly like with printing comics like this, you have to have an exact page count, a certain
Sure,
page count.
of course.
So I have to talk to my printer and see if I have any just to spare.
Yeah. Actually, we've had a couple people mention about doing the fake ads. I think it's clever and funny. I think it's a good idea, especially if it's you're using it to make those kind of social jokes that you're trying to do with this. Obviously, this has a political sense of humor to it, a little
Mhm.
bit, just simply from the name. And you could use the ads to add a little flavor of humor to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could even be ads that would exist in her world or something like that.
Sure.
Nothing's off the table, I would say. It really just depends on how much time I have.
Yeah. Just make sure you don't have an ad of a transgender with a very large bulge. Don't do that.
Was that
Cyberpunk. That was a
Cyberpunk? Yes,
joke.
you're
It was
right.
a cyberpunk joke. Damn it.
Oh man, I'm very
I'm
interested
falling
in that
flat,
game.
Denali.
You're
Anyway.
now doing the Jad jokes.
Hey, now I'm not doing the dad joke. That was legitimate. Anyway, we have the
Uh-huh.
collector's edition, which is the big boy as usual. There's always like $100, or this one's actually more around $90 some tier, which is cool.
Mhm.
Tell us about this one.
Well, it's you get the digital and printed books, of course, and then posters, T-shirts. Also giving away, not giving away, but there's trading cards. There's going to be rares in there, so I'm printing cards from home using a very special printer that also we can have like gold foil and really thick backings to them, and I can also draw on them. So you'll be getting a whole bunch of cards, including one hand drawn card, and all those goodies listed. It's pretty standard. I haven't quite announced or decided on the T-shirt design yet, but I will over the next couple of weeks.
And
So I'll announce that soon.
what is the poster? This is it's a pretty good sized poster too. What is the poster?
Yeah, I believe it'll be the cover. If it's the image of her eating the bowl of ramen, I
Sure.
think. I'm not 100% sure. I have sold a couple of copies of that independently, so I don't think it's right to sell a non-exclusive poster. So maybe it'll be an exclusive poster. I haven't decided yet, but it'll be something that you can only get, I suppose, at this tier as a collector. Something that only belongs to these people, I suppose.
Just
That'd
make
be
sure
special.
there's toes in it. Got to have toes.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
And then for a little bit more here, you have the basically just the double bundle, which is the
Yes.
same as above. So awesome, dude. Well, we've taken a real long time here to talk about Mary Sue, and that says a lot because the time has passed very quickly, and we've had a lot of questions and a lot of interest for you here, George. And that's a good thing. That's a good sign, right? Because I've had several times that I've had to do my best to try to keep it interesting and keep on topic, but that hasn't been an issue here. So that's awesome. And I hope you guys over the chat are enjoying it. Of course, you guys have been here the whole same group the whole time. So awesome, guys. And definitely check out this project. See if it's something you want to back. And like I said, at the minimum, just share it out. Right. This is
Yeah.
a great looking book. And of course, sitting here talking to George, I think you all get a good feel that this dude's got a good head on his shoulders. He has a plan. He has experience as well. So I think it's really cool what you're doing, George. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over and cover a story or two, George. I hope you stick around and give us some of your own commentary on them, and then we'll come back at the end and give one more shout out for the book. One of the mods over here in the chat, if you would please drop the link to this for everybody, please. But of course, if you got to jump, go right ahead, George. But we're going to do a couple pieces of news right now. And like I said, one of the mods, if you guys would drop a link over there, please, in the chat. Let me see here. Let me just make sure everything's working still. It is working good. All right, let's move on to our first story we're going to do today. Let me see. Does it want to be this one? This one is definitely the one I want to start with. George is evil, Dr. Wright says. All right, fine. All right.
Prove it. There is no proof.
There's no proof, Dr. Wright. All right, Dinale, you with me?
Yep. I was
All
just
right.
putting up the link.
Oh, thank you. Well, here you go, Dinale. Let's start out with our couple pieces of news today, and this one looks fun.
Right. So from Scott Schneider and Charles Soule, Image Comic teases new series where America built the wall. Jeez.
Wow.
what they're going to talk about is basically, what if America built an impenetrable walls and was isolated from the whole world? Now they're going to bring an expedition to go into this isolated America and see what horrors will manifest out there.
It's been 30 years and no one has seen America since. It's ridiculous. But I tell you, if we could afford to build the wall like that, damn. Because the wall that Trump's going to build is basically a glorified chain link fence, dude. Right? But yeah, damn, I wish we could build that wall. Wouldn't that be cool? But yeah, 30 years, right? Is the thing. 30 years ago, the United States sealed itself off from the world without warning. Now the gates have finally opened, and an expedition has been launched to see what lies beyond. Thanks a lot. That just sounds awesome. That's going to be so awesome.
The American apocalypse or the American zombies. Roar.
Sounds freaking cool, actually.
It could be really cool, but it's also coming from a stupid
It's not going to be
play.
cool. I know, but it sounds. If it was written by the right people, it'd be cool.
It would be. Well, it reminds me of that really fun zombie-esque movie where basically Britain is walled off because of a zombie outbreak. I can't remember the name of the movie.
Children of Men, perhaps.
Children
Well,
of
that's not
Men.
zombie.
No, that's a different one. No, this one's particularly Britain. But nevertheless, it's a similar type of feel, and it could be cool. But this is Scott Schneider we're talking about. Thanks so much for the response, everybody. Really excited to feel I like Land of the Lost, big over the top adventure. Okay,
all right, dinosaurs.
That would be cool. Yeah, we got dinosaurs now. But of course, I think we all looked at it like, that'd be cool because we're thinking like comic book people, right? But no, what this is going to be is a political hack against the Orange Man bad. That's what it's going to be, and it's ridiculous.
I did not see that coming.
No, neither did I. That's why I think it's fun news because I had no clue that they were going to do this. But
who would have thought?
We're now coming to the United States where everybody is orange.
Right. Well, no, because you can see
the ginger apocalypse, dude. That's what it was.
That's right. Yeah, all gingers.
You got rid of all the orange people, and now we're all orange.
Doomsday. Doomsday is a movie. Thank you.
Started with the Little Mermaid.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Black Mermaid in the Caribbean. But whatever. It's funny to me because I can envision the meeting at the table. I can see them. All right, we got this great idea. We're gonna get Trump. We're gonna get him. And this came to be. I guarantee you this is what was happening at that table. These people are broken. They're broken, right? And Trump broke them. And the thing is, if you've noticed, I've seen many presidents in my lifetime, being an older fellow, but I have to say that they all age quickly. Right? Even something like Obama. I mean, look how hardcore he aged in those 8 years. Really bad, right? Trump hadn't aged at all. Trump doesn't care, man. Of course, he's old man anyway. But Trump is just having the time of his life, dude. He's just he can trigger them so easy, and he plays them like a damn fiddle, and they let him. And it's like I keep looking at it over the years here, and I'm like, when are they gonna learn? When are they gonna learn? When are they gonna learn? They don't learn. He just presses their buttons with the lightest of easiest of touch, and they just go batty crazy. And he's sitting there laughing at you. You know he is. But here we go. We got to get the chomp. Let's get the chomp. You go ahead,
They need him
Scott.
to survive, though. They were going dry without, they need a bad guy to push an agenda. Without this bad guy, it's like, only CNN can save America. You have to stay tuned. But, they were drying up before him.
Well, they still are, actually. They're doing much worse than they did before. They have a core audience that sticks with them, but their numbers are horrible, dude. All of them.
Their YouTubers get better ratings than them.
Oh, much for certainly. But of course, the thing is, these companies aren't really there to make money. They're kept afloat by big money billionaires as a mouthpiece. That's what they're there for, and that's fine. I don't care about any of that. I just get a kick of laughing at them. I just think it's so hilarious how much Trump got under their skin, and how little he cares, and how often he keeps winning, and then they become more squirrely. It's hilarious, dude. This is the most entertaining president we've ever had, dude. is awesome. He
It
just
has been,
bec
yeah, it's been interesting.
It's fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. And then on top of it, I mean, we don't need to get into the politic of it, but whether you like Trump or not, actually doesn't really matter. The dude's had a lot of success, actually. I didn't expect that out of him. I didn't. All I wanted was when he got in, I was like, okay, well, I want a constitutionalist judge on the Supreme Court. That's all I wanted from him, and he did that like immediately, right? But everything else is just gravy from my point of view. I'm like, damn, you go, Trump. Dr. Wright says American city has evolved into new proto being, shutting off their moral coil, becoming nothing but spiritual convalescence. Therefore, they open the wall to the mud dwellers that they may find peace. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be something crazy like that, dude. Actually, it might be worth a read. It could be a good, fun read, actually. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Ooh, Denali.
From Newsarama, Neil Gaiman aiming for Sandman show to be as personal and as true as the comic book.
Wow.
And I actually sincerely hope he's able to do that. Because I love Sandman. It's cerebral and it makes you think a lot. I'm not sure how they're going to accomplish it on a TV budget, but I hope that they succeed.
Mhm. Well, I want to hear what George has to say about this, but from my point of view, and I mean, you guys might disagree, but from my point of view, Sandman is actually amazing. It's a great, great thing. But I never saw Sandman as a comic book, though. It's something different. I don't know how to say. Maybe I could just simply call it a graphic novel and just leave it there. But even that isn't really appropriate enough. Sandman is not a comic. It's a different type of artistic presentation. But it's okay. It's done by a company put in that format. But it's a wonderful thing. And hopefully, we've had a few worrying articles come out about Sandman here. But we do know that Neil Gaiman is involved in the project. So all we can hope is it's something really cool. But what kind of budget is Netflix going to throw at this, though? Right? That's the question. Because to do the Sandman right, you need to spend money. Yeah. What do you think about that, George?
Yeah, budget's a big problem with TV. I mean, even Game of Thrones had an unlimited budget, but they collapsed for different reasons. Sandman's always been weird for me because I wanted to like it so many times, but every time I sat down to read it, I couldn't get over this thing that American Comics does. Excuse me. The cover art always looked amazing, but then when I opened the books, I hated the interior art. I absolutely hated it, and I had to force myself to read Sandman.
Really?
Um, there was a point where I just gave up. I'm like, I can't stand this art anymore. I
Hmm.
didn't want to read it anymore. I think it was 2/3 of the way through, so I don't really know what happens at the end. Um, man, but like I love the idea of like what Vertigo was trying to do back in those years. Like it was really admirable. And it's
Yeah.
too bad that Vertigo fell to pieces ever since then. Mismanagement and all that good stuff. But I really respected what Vertigo was trying to do. Like I was never into superhero comics, but I love the idea of branching out into different fantasy, sci-fi, different genres. And Sandman was definitely one of the pioneers in those days.
It
And
was. That's very
and
true.
it accomplished the miracle that I wanted to see, and I still want to see happen in American comics. It makes women want to read comics. And that's not something you hear about very much in America. And I know just as many lady readers love Sandman as much as guys, maybe even more so because it was romantic and gothish, and they were
Yeah.
into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Gaiman was able to create that miracle of making women read comics. And I want that to be a thing because we're missing out on half the market by just, you got to make books that women want to read too.
Mhm. Yeah, I get your opinion on the art. I do. It was something that I was cool with, the stylistic side of it. But I get your point on that. But maybe that's also why I didn't want to call it a comic book because we Americans we have this forced perception that a comic book is superhero. Whereas of course, I live in Japan and we have manga, and manga is not limited at all. You can have one manga that's sitting there talking about a housewife and how she goes about saving coupons, over to some epic pseudo Judeo-Christian type of storyline.
Hmm.
Manga has no limits, where comic books really feel superhero-y, and this is definitely not that. But I think it's really cool. I do see one comment over here in the chat though that Hillel says it's going to turn out Trump is still in power in the comic. I'm sure they can't do anti-Trump comics without Trump, dude. There's no way he's not going to be some Harkonnen-esque blob sitting in a floating chair with little children on chains. I guarantee it, dude.
That would be so dope, though.
It would be. It would be. The
I would read that with
reference.
pleasure.
Yeah, yeah.
The orange spice
The
must
spice.
flow.
The spice.
I want. Oh man, I should put that in Mary Sue somewhere.
Yeah. But I
That'd be
mean,
so
you
cool.
know they're gonna do it. Trump is too perfect not to be Harkonnen
Yeah.
sitting in the chair, dude. There's no way.
What if we're
Yeah,
the bad guys?
right.
America, we're the bad guys the whole time. Oh
Oh
no.
no. Oh no. Sorry for the
Yeah,
Dune reference. I couldn't help
and
it.
you have the RoboCop all over littering the landscape. Freeze, creep! You're an illegal alien. We must escort you out.
Right.
Escort? No, you're going directly to the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez camp.
Oh yeah.
You're going down, son.
Yeah. Well,
You
you know,
broke the law.
at first I just kind of laughed at her because she's just a silly twit, right? I mean, that's what she is, a silly little twit. But now I see that no, she's upgraded from that because that's an evil little manipulating silly twit, right?
She got installed though.
She
It
did.
was such a joke.
Yeah.
She's not talking. She's a puppet. Like someone else is talking through her. Whatever happened there was some kind of very creepy installation and something to keep an eye on.
Well, yeah.
Um,
Well, there are certain constituencies in America where you can install a political candidate quite easy, whether it be
yeah,
Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. We do
yeah.
have those places in America, and she was put into one of those. I mean, basically, she became a congresswoman with less than 10,000 votes. So there you go.
Yeah, man. And yet she's one of the most outspoken and popular congresspeople ever. Why is this? There's something funny going on.
Yeah, well, sure. Well, I think the problem is she's kind of bug-eyed, but she does have a certain beauty to her. She does. She's young. She's not a white person. I mean, goodness gracious, can't have that. So what do they call her? She's a POC, I suppose. But the thing they made, I think the mistake they made with her was, I get the reason why she was chosen, but she's just not smart enough. This is the problem. She's just not very smart. And I mean, you have someone you want to promote your rhetoric. You need to have someone who can articulate it, right? I mean, think about, some of the great orators we've had in politics, like Bill Clinton or even Ronald Reagan, for instance. Barack Obama, if he had a script in his hand, that dude was an amazing orator. Where Trump isn't really not. But the thing that's interesting about Trump, I have seen a couple of actually amazing speeches from him. But the thing about Trump, the dude's never reading off a piece of paper. He's just coming at it from his head, right? Which I
Mm.
appreciate a lot more than the script readers. But I think they made a mistake with Cortez. It wasn't what they intended. But anyway, let's not get off on that. Let me see here. Oh, this has been covered to death, but I just wanted to mention real quick. Go ahead, Dinale.
All right, from the Metro, Disney bans grieving father from having Spider-Man on son's grave.
Mm,
This is hard to look at.
it is
Mhm.
hard, dude. And do you have kids, George?
No, but I have little guys in my life that I
All
love
right.
to death.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a father. I got a couple kids, and my kids are at the age that I'm. The next few years, they'll be making their own kids, I'm sure. But here's the thing: it's really tough about this story. A lot of people are spinning it in a very negative way because Disney is just ticking people off left and right. I mean, just be fair; they're pissing people off, right, with the things they're doing. But to be fair, I agree and don't agree. Because this policy from Disney is an old one. Matter of fact, I think it's so old that actually Walt Disney himself put it in, dude. And of course, the corporate reason of not having any of your Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or anything like that on a tombstone is quite obvious to anyone who's going to stop and think in a business mind for a minute. You don't want graveyards full of Mickey Mouse on a tomb, dude. You don't want that. I get the emotional outrage against it, and I agree. It sucks, dude, because they could have done something better. But let's be fair, though, because Disney did send a very direct letter to an individual, right? Which Disney's a huge corporation; those kind of things fall under the table all the time, I'm sure. But they did respond to him. It was a very polite letter, and they did send a commemorative print thing. And you say, "Who cares? That doesn't mean anything." Okay, well, fine, it doesn't. But they did try to be as magnanimous or as friendly and kind as they could be. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have been invoking Stan Lee. If Stan Lee were alive, he would have done something about it. It's probably true. Stan actually was the type of dude that would go with a situation like this and directly deal with it. That is Stan Lee. Because Stan Lee is an American icon, not just because people know his face or he made Marvel comics, but because of the man he was. That dude did a lot of things, was always talking about Marvel, was everywhere, charities, children hospitals. I mean, Stan was the man. And so Stan would have found a way to work this out. He would have found some solution to it, some middle ground. But I think it's a little disingenuous, a lot of these articles that are covering this, because I don't think it's as black and white as people are trying to make it. Does anyone here want to disagree with me on that?
It's a gray area. There's really no
Yeah.
good answer to this.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to have to be the person to decide that. Like,
true.
first of all, it shouldn't be in the news. So like if I was Disney and I wanted to make an exception, I wouldn't want anyone to know about it, because obviously you don't want a picture circulating of a grave with Spider-Man on it. That's bad PR, let's say.
It is.
But at the same time, it can be good PR. I don't know. But they're looking at it as a business, and businesses don't care about like sad stories. They only care about money. I'm pretty sure, yeah, Marvel, the old Marvel, would have found an exception. They would have quietly made it so that, of course, you can have Spider-Man on the tombstone. I don't know.
Sure, sure.
Um,
And of course,
but
in the end, the reason why this whole thing happened was because the dude is a law-abiding citizen, right? And of course, it always comes down to all these stupid laws. We've got to have a new gun law. We got 1,000 already. We need more. Laws have nothing to do with the majority of people, because we follow the rules. It's the law breakers that are the problem. But this guy followed the rules, and this cemetery wanted to make sure that they were not in any kind of violation. And they told him this, okay, well, you need to go talk to Disney and get their permission before we can allow that tombstone in here. So understand, there are many parties involved. This story is not straight cut like most of these articles are putting it. Disney bad, they hate children. That is not even close to what this story is. And I understand the emotion of it. I have children, dude. I get it. I 100% get it. And particularly more so than most, because when my daughter was 2, she was diagnosed with leukemia, and she went through 7 years of chemotherapy, dude. I'm well aware of what this father went through, and I got lucky. My child survived it, but it's freaking hell, dude. I get it 100%. But at the same time, let's be honest about it, okay? And it's kind of pissing me off where the people are just using this as a way to just bash. And it's not cool, because we sit here and we complain about all the fake narratives and the fake news and the lies and the nonsense that comes out of the progressive media. Let's not be them, right? Let's not do that. That's what I say.
you're not wrong. I mean, I like kicking the big monopoly man.
Sure. But
It's honestly, these kinds of things need to be handled privately. There's no, let's put it this way, there's a lot of economy in reporting stuff like this. If I was a YouTuber that's like, my whole channel was about reporting on what's on the news and it's a dry news day, of course I'm going to jump on this story.
sure.
Um, you can throw in your 2 cents, and it's a very safe bet to just be like, oh yeah, let's side with the dad. It's very sad.
Yeah.
And of course, Disney bad. Everybody knows
Disney bad, and Disney is bad. They make a lot of stupid decisions. This is about money. It most certainly is. But I'm just saying, let's be honest about exactly what's going on here, and basically saying that, hey, Disney, it probably would have been better if you made a corporate decision here and did a one-off. Right, but then again, they're going to get people streaming. I want it on my kid's tomb too, right? So I totally get what's going on, and I agree with everything in a way. The only thing I just don't agree with is this: let's not become what the progressives are. Let's not lie. Let's be honest, right? We can mock and have a good fun laugh at some idiot like Brie Larson and the stupidity that her life is, but let's not lie about Brie Larson, right? Her Captain Marvel movie, it's not a great movie, but it's not a bad one either, right? Let's be honest about it. We can have a fun laugh at it and point it out, but we should be honest as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not even a journalist, and I think that. So what the hell's going on? But Joe disagrees. Maybe he says no. Sony owns the film rights, not Spider-Man himself. Oh, they're having a conversation, yeah. But no, that's definitely just a Disney decision. But it's a really it's a shitty situation, is what it is.
Mhm.
But Joe says, fair enough. Well, there it is. Well, we're doing more. I don't really want to talk about this at all. The AMC reassures fans the Walking Dead TV show and movies aren't ending. No one cares, dude. That show's been dead for seasons. This I want to talk about. Go ahead, Dinale.
Yeah. From Fader, Akira creator Katsuhiro. Is that how they spelled it? I feel like they spelled it wrong. Katsuhiro Otomo will revisit the series for a new brand anime project called Orbital Era, and it's set in the same universe as Akira.
Mm-hmm. Well, Katsuhiro Otomo, the funny thing here in Japan, he's not particularly well known.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about it, Akira is not really very well known amongst Japanese. There's an older generation that will, yeah, the foreigners like that. You'll get that kind of response. The Japanese, Akira is not very big or important to them at all. And it's very interesting what is big to the foreigners and what is big to the Japanese. There's very few crossovers, actually. Miyazaki is a crossover, but Ghost in the Shell, that's not big here in Japan at all. It's really not popular. Right, but you have things like, of course, Ghibli, where I mentioned with Miyazaki. His stuff is kind of universal. And let me see. Yamato. Yamato is quite universal. Japanese love and revere Yamato, a space battleship Yamato. And of course, when I was a kid, we grew up with Star Blazers, and it's a kind of epically legendary anime series. But it's funny, what is popular overseas often is not what is popular here, interestingly enough. And this is one of those. But I'm excited as hell for it. And it's like, about time, Otomo-san. Damn, why would you take so long? The amount of money this is sitting overseas waiting. Why did this take so long? What do you think, George? You're a manga fan.
Did they say if it's going to be animated in the same way?
Let me see. Akira is one of the most influential works of science fiction of all time. Both the original comic and the 1988 film helped popularize Japanese comics art in the West. There you go. That West, this is the important point, in the West. With Kanye West calling the film his greatest creative inspiration. Okay, Kanye. This week, the series creator, Katsuhiro Otomo, announced during a panel at Anime Expo in Los Angeles that he's working on a brand new anime project based on Akira. Which I'm just like titillated. According to Anime News Network, the team behind the new Akira hopes to incorporate the entirety of the original manga. Whew, that's a lot, dude. In the new series. The 1988 film, directed by Otomo, debuted in cinemas 2 years before the manga finished its run in 1990. The original Akira film will also receive a 4K remaster, sweet, out April 24th, 2020 in Japan. A live-action remake is in the works, directed by Taika Waititi. It's in theaters May 20. Dude, why do they keep giving Waititi these big monster projects? He's an indie developer. Stop it. Why would you give this to Waititi? Why? Oh my God, dude.
But what I'm assuming, to answer George's question, is that it'll probably be with the CGI that's been more prevalent in current anime. like the last Ghost in the Shell movie sort of thing, because the traditional animation that you're thinking of from Akira, that's way expensive and cost prohibitive,
Yeah,
especially for
yeah.
studios.
That's true. I get it. But then again, we got Alita Battle Angel, which first of all in Japan hardly anyone knows about it. Even in the West, hardly anyone knows about it. That would talk about a obscure title to grab a hold of and throw out into a movie. I mean, really. And it's
Well,
basically just the retelling of
I,
Astro Boy anyway. It's like what
I
the
would
hell, right?
actually, when they acquired the right about 14, 15 years ago, that wasn't an obscure title. That's actually was one of the more popular titles that was coming from Japan to the East. And everybody who were a manga fan knew what Akira was.
I'm not talking about
Um,
Akira. I'm talking about Alita Battle Angel.
sorry, Akira Battle Angel, sorry.
Yeah.
That's, so when they acquired the rights, everybody knew what that property was. The
Mm.
problem is they took 15 to 20 years to actually get it done, and nobody by this time cared.
Well, I was living here when Alita
Mhm.
came out, right? So
Right.
I remember very clearly that Alita didn't do well. That's why it's not been around. That's why it doesn't have a bunch of series and a lot of stuff to grab a hold of because it failed here, dude. That's my point. And there's over here we have Carl, Carl's Amateur Hour, and he says, "Isn't JoJo's Bizarre Adventure loved in Japan? It's a niche. It's actually quite niche. And the people who love
So,
JoJo and all those JoJo stories,
mhm.
there's a good chunk of them, but it is a very niche thing. But it's like, for instance,
So, Chester, just let me ask a quick question. Um, Outlaw Star, does that anime sounds familiar to you?
Outlaw Star.
Star, right?
Not at all, no.
Okay.
But then maybe the
It,
Japanese name is different, possibly, right?
Star War Warrior Knight.
Can you give me the Japanese?
Sinho Bukyo Atoro Suta.
Wow, that was horrible. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, not offhand, not offhand. No, but we could get into all the nuance of what is known and what is not known. For instance, Naruto is very popular here. It's very popular overseas. Dragon Ball is another one. One Piece seemed to have been popular in the West as well. So there are examples, of course. Outlaw Star is pretty cool. Carl seems to think. Oh, hey,
yeah,
thank you, Dinelli. Seiho Bukyo Otoro Suta. I don't know this one at all, dude. But
right. And
that
that was
doesn't mean
that was,
much. I am an old
but
man. Most of my anime
right,
knowledge is coming from my childhood or my children. My daughter, particularly, is a anime otaku for sure, a manga otaku, I
right.
guess.
So that's
Um,
what I'm trying to point out that Alita is part of that era
sure.
that
Okay, I'll take it.
was very popular.
I'll take it. But this right here, I would love to see. It sounds like what they're doing is a more intensive live action remake of Akira, where I would rather see them do something completely new. Fresh on the Akira world because obviously it's touching on psionics. There's so much you could do in that world, but it sounds like we're just going to go back to the well again. As seems that the only thing Hollywood can do is repeatedly dip in the same damn cup. It is what it is. Any opinions on this, George? Before I move on.
Uh, Plenty, but I guess we're gonna have to just wait until we see trailers. I just saw the teaser for this new project, and
Mhm.
it doesn't look very good, actually. But I don't know, man. I don't know. There's too much nuance to it. I thought Akira's the reason that Akira became so popular when it did was because cartoons were really blowing up, especially with Disney back in what '95 when it came out.
Mhm.
And that and Ghost in the Shell have never been seen before. Like nothing's been like that in America ever. So we thought, wow, cartoons for adults, how novel. And so I was growing up just at the right time where I'm like, holy crap, this is exactly what I want to do with my life. So it blew my mind to see those two films. And I never liked the story of Akira,
Mhm.
but the animation, of course, is undeniably incredible. But it also, I've been on production teams where we've done animation before.
Sure.
It was they are freaking nightmares. So I don't know how in modern day you're going to get that kind of quality of animation. I guess they're not because you're right, Dinale. They're going to do, it looks like CG, at least partially CG. Like what they did with Ghost in the Shell 2. I didn't like that movie either.
Oh, you talk about the live action with what's her name, Scarlett Johansson? That was horrible.
I didn't like that. No, I meant, I'm sorry, Innocence.
Oh, and the
Here in
second
the
one,
States,
yeah,
it's
and
called
I didn't care
Innocence.
for it much either. It was beautiful,
But
but I didn't care
I
for it.
loved the first one
So
so
did I.
much.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I hold it in like this holy place in my mind.
You do
I
realize
don't
that
know.
held the most expensive anime ever creation of all time for quite a while.
It was
Ghost in the
worth
Shell
it
was
though.
super expensive. It was gorgeous, yeah. But I didn't care for Innocent very much either. And the Scarlett Johansson movie was an abomination. But
I skipped it.
no, it was really bad, dude. And I don't blame Scarlett. I blame a director who had no clue what Ghost in the Shell was. They literally had her walking around like she was a damn robot, not understanding that she is the ghost in the shell. Damn it. Anyway, I do
Yeah.
love this. I do love this thing. Where Otomo-san is sitting up here on this absolutely badass bike that came out from Akira, and above him it's like do 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 do. Why? Whatever. Anyway, let's see. So that's our last one for today. We had a lot of fun, guys.
Sure.
Let's come back
Yeah.
over here to the Mary Sue and finish up our show now. Really appreciate you coming on with us, George. Had a great conversation, man. You got a good head on your shoulders, and we like that. But go ahead and give your elevator pitch and last spiel for the Indiegogo here. And Denali's going to go ahead and throw that link up.
Sure. Honestly, guys, I don't have a great elevator pitch aside from, it's a comic that I'm intentionally trying to fill a gap in, let's say, indie comics right now, where I just think there's, I don't know, it's just something that I can feel is like missing. It's fun, it's dumb, it's inspired by anime and manga. I've grown up on this stuff, especially 80s and 90s stuff like Robotech, even Sailor Moon, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, Bubblegum Crisis. There's a million different animes that I grew up with, and this is just like a love letter to all that stuff. And
Pat
if you
LeVar.
guys, yeah, I mean, if there's any way I can encourage everyone to just take a look at the Indiegogo, read the synopsis. It's really fun, and just keep an eye on it. If you're not ready to, make a purchase right now, just keep an eye on the project. I'm sure in the next few months, like maybe you'll change your mind. I think once word of mouth gets out, it's going to be proven to be a lot of fun to read, and I hope everyone wants to keep reading it because there's a lot of great stories to be told in this universe.
Yeah, it looks like it. I love the art. New Hero Comics, Hillel here. He says, "Can I ask a question to George? When you release your digital copy, why not release the comic on Comicsgate as well?"
Comicsgate or
Or
Comixology?
Comixology. I do
No.
apologize.
Comixology, if I recall, is owned by Amazon. Is it?
It is, yes.
It's an
That's
option.
correct.
It's an option. I would have to look into it. I've never worked with them before. If I did like a cheapo PDF, let's say, um, it's like I don't have to go through a third party and give them a cut of my profits. So even though like it's possible to share PDFs, I don't know. It's if we're only talking about a few hundred copies being sold, PDF is fine. If we're talking about the thousands, maybe Comixology. I don't know.
Well, I think
If
I think the idea behind what he's saying is cool. You're going to obviously hold your digital copy to until all the physical copies are sent out. Obviously, everybody does that. So what he's saying is, when you eventually do release the digital copy, why not release it on Comixology at the same time? Therefore, to mitigate a little bit of the piracy concern by picking up a little bit of extra cash on the Comixology. I think is what he's trying to say.
I'm going to guess that Amazon has some kind of exclusivity agreement that you have to sign. I would have to look at the fine print. I don't know.
Sure, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. I'll have to do research if there's time. Yeah.
And Hillel also says their tech for protecting your work is really great. I don't know how well it works, but I don't know much about it, so maybe Hillel knows a lot more. I think it's where you should research it, though. That might not be a bad idea. But
Yeah.
anyway, guys, thank you very much for coming over here. We appreciate you guys coming every day. We do apologize about yesterday, but we can't control YouTube, obviously. But everything worked fine today. and we had a lot of fun. Really enjoyed having you on, George. Great guest, dude, and a great book too. And definitely keep coming back, guys, and spread it out and get more involved. And I say this a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it. Down below is a link to my Twitter. Go on that Twitter and say, Chester put me on the show, and come up here and talk to us, man. We had Star Storyteller up in here with us the other day, and that was a great little conversation. She came on with TFT last week. We'd love to have you in here, man. Don't be afraid of it. Come up in here and chat with us. Let's talk icon to icon, as it were, and have some fun, because we're not serious, right? We're not monetized. We're not trying to make money off of you. We are trying to promote and support people who are, but that's awesome, right? That's what we're trying to do here. This is just a fan channel, and we have proven over the past 10 months that that's exactly what we are. So definitely come up in here and get in here and talk to us. And who apologizes to Rick? Well, I say John Dillard should have to apologize to Rick, but that's for damn sure. For many, many, many things that he's done wrong. For all the things that John Dillard has done wrong, he should apologize to everyone every day for the rest of his life. Don't you agree, Dinale?
Don't get me into that fight.
Love you, John. Hey, Mrs. Thunder is in here. But anyway, thank you guys very much. Go ahead and give your last goodbye, George, and definitely everybody go check out those links we see down here in the chat, and go support Mary Sue, dude. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Thanks so much for inviting me, guys. And if you want to check out my stuff, I always post updates on my Twitter, which is gprime85.
Oh, sweet. G Prime 85. If we can get someone to go ahead and throw that up as well. But awesome, guys. Do keep in mind that tomorrow we, of course, we usually have TFT today, but it'll come back next week. Don't worry about it. But tomorrow we do have our 9 p.m. Eastern time, Standard Time show, which we do to accommodate California a little bit more, and it seems to be working, so we're going to stick with that format. But 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, we will have our standard comics news today. We're also got a guest coming on, though, so we will be looking at Rabbit Comics, a new book that he has coming out. Rabbit is a great artist we've been seeing on the Fan Edition, and George, you should come back to the Jordan Recorded Fan Edition and draw with us again, man. That'll be fun.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm scheduled to later this month.
Oh, sweet. Definitely. And are you going to be on the which day are you going to be on? You going to be on the
I think it's the 20th.
the 20th. I know we had a
Oh,
special.
no, 25th. I'm sorry.
The 25th. Let me check real quick. I got schedule right here in easy reach. Let me see here. Oh, right. I think that's the Niobe day. No. I'm sorry. That is just
What?
you. We're doing full on Mary Sue. As far as covering, that's not what I meant. Of course, everyone come and see him on the Mary Sue as we draw his character. That's not what I meant. What I meant is you just come on and be an artist sometime. I'm not talking about your scheduled time for your book.
Sorry. Sorry.
I was gonna say, but do join him on the July 25th,
Yes, please.
because that will be the thing.
That's right. Because that's going to be a lot of fun too. I love the new format we're doing, and of course, this is a cool looking characters you got. So these guys got to be having fun. Although some of them will complain, "I'm not doing a robot," because the whingers that we have. But I think it's going to be cool, dude. Looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you very much, George. Thank you, chat.
Yeah.
Dinale, take us out of here.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this FanSpeak episode on a Sunday. TFT will return next Sunday, and it will be spooky and crazy and whatever Chester decides to talk about. I'm sure he's going to be long-winded enough to figure it out.
That's right.
But remember, your perception is always shaped by your reality, so always make it a good one.
Namaste, baby. All right. Later, guys.
Aloha.
All right. Take care.